But the ripples it sent through the internet and the hip-hop world were instantaneous and unforgiving. In that brief clip, King Harris, the son of T.I. and Tiny, did something no one expected, something that violated the unwritten codes of respect that even the most aggressive figures in hip-hop seldom cross. He stood in a cemetery, a quiet, solemn place meant for reflection and reverence. But this was no ordinary cemetery. It was the resting place of Sabrina Jackson, 50 Cent's mother. From the first frame, the footage was unsettling. King wasn't silent or respectful. He was laughing, pointing, joking, and using the gravestones like props in a scene designed for social media. Leaning into the camera, his words carried a sharp edge of disdain. "Y'all legends ain't that legendary to me." It wasn't just a quip, a careless moment of bravado. It felt deliberate, invasive, and deeply personal. Fans, journalists, and industry insiders immediately reacted with shock. Even those who had long held grievances against 50 Cent found themselves unsettled. This was a line no one had dared to cross. Understand why the clip was so incendiary. One had to understand the woman at its center. Sabrina Jackson wasn't just a mother. She was the anchor in 50 Cent's life, his protector and silent warrior through the streets of South Jamaica, Queens. By the time of her death, 50 was only 8, and the loss left a wound that never fully healed. He's spoken about her with reverence in interviews over the years, recounting how her guidance shaped his survival instincts and his approach to the world. The disrespect in King's words wasn't just a diss, it was an attack on the foundation of 50 Cent's identity. Those close to him described a rare, dangerous silence in his response. He didn't erupt immediately. Instead, he went quiet, his expression hardening as if a switch had been flipped. In a low, measured tone, he reportedly muttered, "Nah, he didn't just do that." It wasn't just shock, it was the signal of a deeper, more calculated response forming in his mind. The magnitude of the incident was amplified by the whispers circulating almost immediately after the clip surfaced. Observers noticed something unsettling. King's actions didn't feel entirely impulsive. The cemetery is private, not a landmark or tourist site, and King had specific phrasing that suggested guidance. Rumors spread that an older figure in the rap world, someone holding a long-standing grudge against 50 Cent, may have orchestrated the stunt. He allegedly directed King to that precise location and encouraged the provocative behavior. What on the surface looked like youthful recklessness suddenly became part of a strategic, high-stakes chess game. The history between 50 Cent and his adversaries stretches deep, running back to the early 2000s when battles over dominance, labels, and street credibility tore through the hip-hop landscape. Old feuds rarely die, they fester. For someone with the right vendetta, King, a young man with a desire to assert toughness and legitimacy, presented an ideal proxy. It was a way to reopen old wounds without putting themselves in immediate danger. And King, hungry for recognition and validation, became the unwitting vessel. King's upbringing complicated matters further. Raised in comfort and luxury, he had access to resources and opportunities most young artists could only dream of. Yet, he resisted these advantages, seeking authenticity and street cred he hadn't earned firsthand. Over time, he gravitated toward influences outside his family. Older, seasoned figures who fed his ego, stroked his insecurities, and encouraged him to take risks. These figures, operating in shadows, saw an opportunity. A young Harris eager to prove himself could become a weapon in a long-standing personal vendetta. T.I. and Tiny's efforts to guide him were genuine and continuous. They tried to provide structure, exposure to the realities of their business, and boundaries meant to protect him. They sought to instill wisdom, showing him how to balance public persona with private integrity. But King resisted. "I'm grown now," he would say, or "I ain't no soft celebrity kid." Advice from family or outsiders who warned against overstepping was dismissed as fear, irrelevant in the face of ego-driven ambition. The cemetery incident crystallized the cumulative effect of these influences, highlighting how quickly a young, ambitious mind could be steered toward ruin. The backlash was immediate. Hip-hop's unwritten rules are clear. Mothers, ancestors, and graves are off-limits. Even in rivalries defined by verbal warfare and public feuds, such a personal strike is unprecedented. When the clip leaked, the Harris household reportedly descended into chaos. T.I. reacted with a mix of fury and disbelief. Witnesses described him as pacing, punching walls, muttering to himself, the weight of the situation pressing down like a storm. T.N.Y. wept silently, heartbroken, while siblings attempted to process the sudden public spectacle. King, caught up in the momentum, ignored calls and texts, likely convinced by the same voices that had urged him toward boldness that he was making history. For 50 Cent, the situation was equally revealing. His instinct wasn't to attack a child, but to identify the adult orchestrating the chaos. When he realized King wasn't acting alone, when he traced patterns in phrasing, tone, and timing, it became clear this wasn't impulsive teenage rebellion. This was strategy, a calculated attempt to provoke him emotionally, using King as the instrument. The stakes escalated. Suddenly, the feud wasn't just a social media problem. It became a complex web of personal, generational, and professional entanglements. Evidence of manipulation soon surfaced. Insider sources revealed voice notes that King received late at night, messages that praised boldness, urged him to escalate, and framed the incident as a defining moment for his career. "You got to push it further. Don't be scared. You a Harris. You built for this. You want the world to see you as a man, then do something no one forgets," one note reportedly said. To King, the words seemed motivational. In reality, they were loaded instructions designed to provoke maximum disruption, while absolving the instigator of direct involvement. The figure behind these manipulations had history. Known in industry circles as Smoke, he had ties to Murder Inc.'s production side and had long-standing grievances against 50 Cent. Smoke faded into the background when the label dissolved under legal pressures and 50's rise, but resurfaced with a new objective: guide young talent into acting as pawns, reigniting old conflicts. King, seeking validation, became the perfect candidate. Smoke provided location intel, phrasing cues, emotional reinforcement, all while ensuring his own distance from the fallout. T.I.'s intervention was immediate yet limited. He confronted King privately, warning, "He's using you. He don't care about you. He's trying to start a war with that man through you." King, already deep in the psychological trap, replied, "Nah, he believes in me. He sees what you don't." The words revealed the depth of manipulation, exposing fractures in trust and a father-son dynamic strained under public scrutiny. Financial trails confirmed the orchestration. Transfers from the instigators' accounts showed payments to King, seemingly for delivering specific lines, following directions, and ensuring the cemetery footage hit the exact emotional chords intended. This was no mentorship. It was a transaction in chaos, weaponizing a son for revenge and spectacle. While the public consumed fragments on social media, 50 Cent operated silently but strategically. He reached out to the alleged mastermind, leaving them rattled, disappearing offline, and sending warnings. Further cryptic messages hinted at additional layers of the conspiracy, suggesting that the manipulation extended deeper into King's inner circle. T.I., meanwhile, scrambled to secure evidence, lock down communications, and contain public fallout, all while grappling with the realization that his son had been deliberately guided into one of the most culturally sensitive violations imaginable. The full scope of the manipulation was staggering. Smoke had cultivated access, trust, and ego, turning King into a tool for revenge without fully revealing the consequences. What seemed like a moment of teenage rebellion revealed itself as a calculated strike orchestrated with industry knowledge, psychological manipulation, and monetary incentives. For T.I., the implications were devastating. His son had become a pawn in a game he didn't understand. The family legacy had been publicly jeopardized, and the balance between guidance and consequence had been irreversibly disrupted. Even as the video went viral, fueling debates, commentary, and outrage, the real story, what had been orchestrated behind the scenes, who benefited from the manipulation, and the lessons about influence and power in hip-hop remained largely invisible. What appeared as impulsive disrespect was, in fact, a culmination of months of grooming, strategic coaching, and exploitation of ambition. For King, the moment was unforgettable. For T.I., it was a harrowing revelation. For 50 Cent, it was confirmation of the risks inherent in a world where old feuds never die. They evolve, finding new vessels in the ambitious, the naive, and the easily influenced. In the aftermath, the Harris household entered crisis mode. Phones were seized, social media locked, legal teams mobilized, and internal investigations began. The family faced multiple layers of betrayal: a son manipulated, a trusted older figure abusing influence, and an industry ready to dissect every misstep for entertainment and profit. The viral clip was just the beginning. In the weeks that followed, questions continued to swirl. How deep did Smoke's influence reach? Was King fully aware of the consequences, or simply acting on ego? Could T.I. reclaim control before irreparable damage occurred? And most crucially, how would 50 Cent respond? Not just to the disrespect, but to the revelation that the young man's actions had been orchestrated by those seeking revenge. The cemetery incident, short though it was, became a case study in influence, manipulation, and the intersection of fame, family, and revenge. It revealed vulnerabilities in the Harris household, highlighted the long shadows of old industry grudges, and underscored the challenges young artists face when ambition meets the hidden agendas of those around them. King Harris had crossed a line, but he did so under the guidance of someone else's hand, weaponized as a messenger in a game far bigger than himself. The fallout would continue to unfold. Every post, DM, and insider tip became a potential clue. The web of influence, money, manipulation, and betrayal was dense, layered, and lethal. The lesson for hip-hop and for anyone observing the saga was clear. Ambition without discernment can become a tool for someone else's war, and respect, especially in sacred spaces, is more than a cultural courtesy. It is survival. The saga began with a single, fleeting clip, just 14 seconds long, but it sparked an immediate and unprecedented firestorm across hip-hop and social media. In that short span, King Harris, son of T.I. and Tiny, crossed a line that most in the culture consider untouchable. He stood in a cemetery, the resting place of Sabrina Jackson, 50 Cent's mother, and treated it as a stage for performance. He laughed, pointed, joked, and delivered lines dripping with irreverence. "Y'all legends ain't that legendary to me." The footage spread instantly, drawing condemnation from fans, journalists, and even those who held grudges against 50 himself. The act wasn't playful trolling or clout chasing. It was a deliberate violation of something deeply personal and sacred. To understand the enormity of what happened, one must recognize who Sabrina Jackson was. She wasn't just a mother. She was 50 Cent's anchor, his protector, the woman who guided him through the streets of South Jamaica, Queens, until her tragic death when he was 8. Her memory became the foundation of his survival instincts, his drive, and his resilience in an industry and environment built on betrayal and competition. Disrespecting her was never just a diss, it was a direct strike at the core of 50 Cent's identity. Sources described his reaction as unusual, a measured silence, a chilling stillness that spoke louder than an outburst ever could. "Nah, he didn't just do that," he reportedly said, his tone carrying the weight of suppressed fury. Those who know him understood immediately. The game had changed. The incident's explosive nature was compounded by whispers that King hadn't acted alone. The cemetery is not a public or easy-to-find landmark, and King's phrasing suggested guidance. Sources hinted at an older figure in the rap game, a man holding a decades-old grudge against 50 Cent who had orchestrated the move. The idea was clear: provoke 50 emotionally without stepping into the line of fire personally. King, a young artist desperate to carve a name for himself, was the perfect proxy. The stunt, while appearing impulsive, was strategically engineered. leveraging old animosities and King's desire for recognition. King's upbringing made him vulnerable. Raised in luxury, shielded from the harsh realities of the streets, he nonetheless yearned for respect in a culture defined by toughness, credibility, and struggle. He rejected comfort in favor of projecting a hard, street-aligned image. Public spats, boastful claims, and constant self-positioning as real drew scrutiny and concern. Behind the scenes, family and friends worried about the influences he kept, older men who stroked his ego, feeding his craving for attention and validation. Their motivations weren't mentorship, they were manipulation. To them, King was a tool, a young, impressionable figure who could be weaponized for revenge or spectacle. T.I. and Tiny had worked tirelessly to guide him otherwise. They provided security, resources, and stability, offering pathways King often rejected. They hoped he'd build an identity outside of inherited fame, but King sought respect the hard way, the way earned in the streets, the way he perceived as authentic. Advice from family or outsiders warning him of consequences was dismissed. "I'm grown now," he'd say, or "I ain't no soft celebrity kid." Those words became his shield against guidance, while older figures, men like Smoke, fed his ambitions, guiding him toward actions with real-world stakes. The fallout from the cemetery clip was immediate and chaotic. Hip-hop's unwritten rules are clear. Mothers, ancestors, and graves are off-limits. King's violation was unprecedented. Within the Harris household, tension erupted. Ed, T.I. reacted viscerally, pacing, shouting, and punching walls, trying to convey the gravity of his son's actions. Tiny was heartbroken, while siblings grappled with public exposure and social media scrutiny. King, caught in the momentum and encouraged by outside influences, brushed off attempts to intervene. Calls went unanswered. The ego fueled by manipulative praise overrode family warnings. 50 Cent's response, by contrast, was strategic. He doesn't confront children directly, but when adults manipulate them, the rules change. As he traced the evidence, timing, phrasing, location, it became clear the act wasn't impulsive, it was calculated. Someone had weaponized a young man to strike at the most sensitive part of his history, his mother. Sources revealed that Smoke, a man with ties to Murder, Inc., orchestrated the stunt from the ground. He provided the cemetery location, coached lines, guided behavior, and ensured the footage hit emotionally potent notes. What appeared as reckless youth was a directed performance. The plot deepened. Smoke wasn't acting alone. Working alongside him was a long-standing industry figure, nursing old grudges against 50 Cent. Together, they had engineered the plan in stages. First, the cemetery desecration to provoke emotionally. Second, the Black Rose video filmed in front of 50's childhood home, further invading his personal history. And third, a diss track already recorded with lyrics designed to amplify the psychological damage. While unreleased, industry whispers confirmed its existence and brutality. Smoke's manipulation of King extended beyond coaching. He incentivized the actions financially, paying for participation in footage, scripted lines, and follow-up videos. King wasn't empowered, he was purchased. Inside the Harris mansion, the chaos intensified. T.I. confronted King, demanding names and explanations. "It was my idea. I did it myself," King insisted. But the evidence told another story: pinned maps, voice notes, messages coordinating timing and lines, cash app transfers, all pointing back to Smoke. The final proof came in a text: "We about to humble a legend. Welcome to the big leagues." T.I.'s rage was instantaneous. "He set you up. He set us all up. You're playing with a man who don't play," he yelled. Only then did King begin to grasp that his sense of invincibility had been a carefully constructed illusion. The layers of manipulation revealed the sophistication of the scheme. Smoke and the older affiliate built King's ego, fed him false narratives of importance, and encouraged blind loyalty. Each step was calculated: provoke 50, escalate the personal violation, and frame King as the central figure in a larger narrative. The result: emotional trauma for 50, public backlash for King, and deep fractures in the Harris household. 50 Cent's response was methodical. He focused not on King but on the orchestrators. Evidence, screenshots, voice notes, financial records allowed him to piece together the full picture. Industry insiders confirmed his intent to hold the adults accountable for manipulating the child. The fallout reverberated across social media, with fans speculating about Smoke's disappearance, the ex-Murder Inc., affiliates' involvement, and the unprecedented nature of the attack. Posts and tweets dissected every angle, comparing the saga to early 2000s feuds where retaliation often carried life-altering consequences. Meanwhile, King remained caught in the manipulation. In a recent Instagram story, he wrote, "They lied on me. I ain't snitching on my people." Loyalty to Smoke remained, despite clear evidence of betrayal. Smoke had abandoned him when scrutiny intensified, leaving King to face the fallout alone. T.I. worked to reclaim his son, redirecting him from destructive influences while managing the family's public image. The emotional toll was immense, revealing the vulnerability of young artists in a world where old grudges are rarely dormant. The incident exposed a darker truth about hip-hop culture: the exploitation of youth by veterans seeking revenge, validation, or chaos. Fame's children, eager to prove themselves, often fall prey to manipulative mentors who see them as tools rather than protégés. King Harris, seeking respect and authenticity, became collateral damage in a calculated psychological operation designed to strike at a legend's personal history. Sabrina Jackson's memory, sacred and untouchable, became ammunition in a proxy war that King never fully understood. Smoke's disappearance added another layer of tension. Phone disconnected, social media scrubbed, and locations abandoned, he vanished the same day the plot's details began leaking. His retreat suggested anticipation of danger, confirming the scheme's high stakes. Meanwhile, T.I. and Tiny worked to stabilize their son, repair relationships, and manage public perception, aware that the fallout extended beyond family drama. It had become a cautionary tale for the entire industry. The industry reacted predictably but intensely. Celebrities, commentators, and fans weighed in. Snoop Dogg's cryptic post, "Kids ain't supposed to carry grown men's beef. Yeah, y'all dirty for that," captured the outrage. Meek Mill condemned the manipulation, while Charlamagne Tha God labeled it grooming and exploitation. DJ Envy highlighted the dangers of hiding behind a child in a vendetta. That says everything. The commentary reflected a consensus. Weaponizing youth to settle old scores is unforgivable. T.I.'s public statements underscored the family's stance. "My son made a mistake, but the grown men who put him in that position, they're the ones who crossed the line. You don't manipulate a child into disrespecting the dead. You don't turn a kid into a weapon. You don't drag somebody's mama into no-rap beef. And I ma handle those men personally." His declaration sent shockwaves through the industry, signaling that personal defense could extend beyond social media statement into confrontation with the orchestrators themselves. Meanwhile, whispers about the unreleased diss track persisted. 50 Cent, typically quiet in public when calculating a move, reportedly confirmed its existence through trusted sources. The realization that King had been used to strike at the most sensitive points in 50's life, the gravesite, the childhood home, and a musical attack designed to exploit pain, shifted the stakes dramatically. No longer was this a fleeting social media incident. It was a multifaceted, strategic assault that blurred the line between art, ego, and real-world consequences. Tiny, observing the chaos, spoke quietly but poignantly. He doesn't understand everything yet. Her words reflected King's state of awareness, still loyal to Smoke, still blind to the depth of manipulation, and still learning the hard way about the dangers of ambition entwined with the grudges of older men. In the process, the broader lesson became clear. In hip-hop, unresolved rivalries can exploit the young. Fame's offspring are vulnerable to manipulation, and personal history, especially involving those lost, remains sacred territory that should never be weaponized. As the saga unfolded, the Harris family faced an intricate balancing act. Contain the immediate fallout, protect King from legal and social consequences, and ensure he understood the gravity of his actions. For 50 Cent, the focus was precise. Pursue the adults who orchestrated the attack, protect his legacy, and send a message that certain lines, disrespecting the dead, weaponizing children, carry consequences that extend far beyond viral clips or trending hashtags. The story, though rooted in a 14-second video, illuminated a broader reality about mentorship, legacy, and the perils of ambition. King Harris, in seeking validation and respect, risked far more than fame. Smoke, the manipulator, learned that exploitation has limits when the target possesses both intelligence and patience. And 50 Cent, whose personal loss had fueled a career defined by survival and strategy, showed that vengeance in hip-hop isn't always loud. It's calculated, precise, and devastating when required. In the weeks that followed, the ripple effects continued. The orchestrators remained largely in hiding, the public speculation swelled, and the lessons of manipulation, ego, and legacy became part of a cautionary tale for the industry. Hip-hop watched, analyzed, and waited. Every post, story, and insider report added pieces to a puzzle that combined real-world danger with the spectacle of celebrity culture. The Harris household's trauma, 50's calculated response, and King's entanglement revealed how quickly youth can be weaponized in long-standing feuds, and how deeply personal history can be exploited for entertainment, vengeance, or perceived gain. Ultimately, the saga was a study in consequences, manipulation, and survival. It wasn't merely about a viral clip, a family conflict, or a generational beef. It was a lesson in strategy, loyalty, ambition, and the human cost of unresolved grudges. For King, it was a bitter initiation into the real-world implications of crossing lines he didn't fully understand. For T.I. and Tiny, it was a fight to reclaim their son from toxic influence while navigating the glare of public scrutiny. For 50 Cent, it was another reminder that personal history is inviolable, and that those who exploit it, especially using the vulnerable, will eventually face reckoning. Hip-hop, as ever, watched, analyzed, and waited. And one truth remained. When the dead, legacy, and personal history enter the equation, the game changes entirely. Silence from 50 Cent doesn't signify inaction. It signals strategy, patience, and inevitability. Smoke may have vanished, the affiliate may have retreated, but the storm unleashed by a 14-second video had already left permanent scars, both public and private. In the battle between ambition, manipulation, and respect, the lesson was clear. The sequences of crossing sacred lines are not just digital, they are deeply personal, and the echoes last far longer than any clip or track. The drama that had already consumed hip-hop was about to erupt into a storm even more dangerous. Fans, commentators, and insiders had been grappling with Smoke's disappearance, King Harris, reckless audacity, and the affiliate's shadowy influence. Everyone assumed the peak had been reached, a young artist humiliated, a veteran legend provoked, and a stunt gone viral. But then, the biggest twist detonated across timelines, sending ripples through social media, blogs, and industry chatter. An anonymous former Murder, Inc. employee leaked a single cryptic message that froze the internet. There's a third person involved. The one who started the whole plan, not Smoke, not the affiliate, someone bigger. Just the phrase, someone bigger, sent speculation into overdrive. Fans debated endlessly who could outrank Smoke and the ex-affiliate in reach and influence. Analysts dissected the message, YouTube channels published deep dives, and Twitter erupted with wild theories. The revelation shifted the narrative dramatically, from a chaotic stunt executed by misguided youths to a sinister, multi-layered conspiracy orchestrated by someone powerful enough to operate unseen, above the noise of clout, cash, and street respect. For those who thought Smoke's vanishing act was the height of audacity, the leak upended everything. Suddenly, the affiliate, the one whispered about as the strategic mind, was revealed not to be the ultimate architect. Instead, a third mastermind lurked in the shadows, a ghost with both motive and means, a figure who required no clout to manipulate events. The goal wasn't a viral moment or a fleeting diss track. It was something far more calculated, profound, personal humiliation directed at 50 Cent, delivered through the hands of an unsuspecting young pawn. Hours after the leak went viral, T.I. received a call from a trusted Atlanta industry veteran, someone with decades of insider knowledge. His words hit like a thunderclap. Tip: King wasn't approached by 2 men, he was approached by 3. T.I. fell silent, absorbing the implication. The veteran continued. Smoke was the runner, boots on the ground. The affiliate was the strategist, feeding grudges and writing lines. But the third guy, he's the investor. In the industry, the term investor rarely just meant someone funding a project. It implied influence, protection, access, and the ability to operate above the fray. This wasn't petty beef anymore. This was corporate-level warfare. The third figure didn't want a viral clip. He wanted 50 Cent emotionally shattered, publicly humiliated, and forced to confront the one wound he guarded more fiercely than any other: his mother's memory. The motive traced back years. 50 Cent had quietly derailed a major television project that this man had nurtured for over 5 years. Meticulously developed, fully funded, and teeming with high-profile talent, the project evaporated the moment 50 launched his own competing series. Networks pivoted, executives backed out, investors pulled capital, and millions vanished. This third figure didn't blame the market, timing, or luck. He blamed 50 Cent personally. Every dollar lost, every deal thwarted, was 50's doing. Revenge, slow brewing over half a decade, became the guiding principle for what was about to unfold. The operation was precise. Direct confrontation with 50 was far too risky. A lyrical diss would achieve nothing against someone who had survived bullets and betrayal. So the mastermind targeted a point 50 could not defend with money, fame, or influence: the sacred memory of his mother. The investor recruited the perfect team. Smoke, desperate for relevance after fading from the scene, executed the field work. The affiliate, burning from old defeats, strategized every move. And King Harris, a teenager hungry for credibility and recognition, became the pawn. Naive, loyal, and emotionally raw, he was the ideal conduit for psychological damage. The layers of the plot were staggering. 50 Cent reportedly learned the identity of the third figure before T.I. did. A digital folder appeared from a loyal insider, packed with voice notes, screenshots, wire transfers, and messages tracing the flow of funds and instructions. When 50 opened it, he recognized the architect immediately. No shock, no hesitation, just cold acknowledgement. "Oh, it's you," he muttered. The revelation cut deeper than expected. The third mastermind not only bore a personal grudge, but also maintained business relationships with T.I., turning a supposed ally into the orchestrator of destruction. The internet, still waiting for names, felt the seismic shift. 50 Cent's response was simple, stark, and chilling. "Everyone who played a part in this, I'm coming for you." No emojis, no memes, no theatrics. Just a declaration of intent from a man who had built a career out of surviving threats, betrayal, and violence. The culture understood instantly. This was not entertainment. This was methodical strategy. Panic swept through the conspirators. Smoke vanished completely, deleting social media, abandoning known locations, and severing communication. The affiliate scrambled, unsure whether to maintain his silence or cooperate under pressure. The third figure, the investor, went dark overnight. Appearances canceled, projects halted, and calls to multiple lawyers confirmed the seriousness. The facade of untouchability crumbled. Suddenly, he was vulnerable, forced to reckon with the man he sought to humiliate. Meanwhile, King Harris remained partially blind to the truth. His Instagram defense, "They lied on me. I ain't snitching on my people," revealed stubborn loyalty to the very figures who had used him. Smoke was gone, leaving no reinforcement or reassurance. The affiliate's silence loomed like a shadow. Yet King clung to the narrative they had sold him. He was fearless, chosen, destined for greatness, bigger than his father's shadow. Reality crept in slowly, like water filling a sinking ship. Family interventions intensified. T.I. confiscated devices. Tiny's subtle fan page comment expressed quiet heartbreak, and siblings encircled him protectively. The Harris mansion had transformed into a war room, a containment center for a young man caught in a battle far beyond his comprehension. The leaked nighttime clip added a new dimension. Blurry, low-lit, and haunting, King's voice cut through. "It's too late now. Part 2 already out there." He referred to the Black Rose footage filmed at 50 Cent's childhood home under Smoke's direction. Symbolic props, scripted taunts, multiple takes, all designed to provoke emotional pain. Someone held this clip privately, perhaps an insider from the investor's circle or a hacker exploiting chaos. The timing of its release could ignite devastation. Hip-hop audiences were left guessing, watching and theorizing. Industry reactions hardened. Snoop Dogg's previous admonishment, "Kids ain't supposed to carry grown men's beef," resonated louder than ever. Meek Mill amplified the message, calling for accountability from the manipulative veterans. Charlamagne Tha God described the plot as grooming and exploitation. Boosie, Ja Rule, and other insiders weighed in, some cautiously, some publicly, framing the operation as morally corrupt and psychologically dangerous. T.I.'s live declaration, "I'ma handle those men personally," hinted at confrontation that could target his business associate directly. The family, once fractured by King's missteps, began uniting with focused intensity. 50 Cent, despite the chaos, maintained public composure. Those close to him described a focused intensity, gathering evidence, consulting quietly, preparing for calculated responses. Silence, as always, amplified fear. The investor's disappearance underscored that fact. Real power had limits when confronted by someone who had turned survival into an art form. Smoke's vanishing suggested insider warnings. The affiliate hovered, caught between denial and the inevitability of exposure. 50 Cent, despite the chaos, maintained public composure. Those close to him described a focused intensity, gathering evidence, consulting quietly, preparing for calculated responses. Silence, as always, amplified fear. The investor's disappearance underscored that fact. Real power had limits when confronted by someone who had turned survival into an art form. Smoke's vanishing suggested insider warnings. The affiliate hovered, caught between denial and the inevitability of exposure. The implications extended beyond social media drama. This wasn't just a family feud or a viral stunt. It was a masterclass in manipulation, a teenager weaponized by adults with long memories, precise motives, and the financial leverage to execute a psychological campaign against a legend. The personal stakes, the betrayal, and the escalation blurred lines between performance and real-world consequences. King's reckoning had only begun. Slowly, he started realizing the cost of ambition fueled by manipulation. The loyalty he had offered to Smoke and the affiliate had been a facade. They abandoned him when danger intensified. The digital folder revealed wire transfers, messages, and directives that traced a full chain of command, exposing how deep the betrayal ran. The Black Rose footage loomed like a loaded weapon, ready to drop and escalate the situation further. Fans, analysts, and bloggers treated comment sections and forums like war rooms, mapping conspiracies, predicting next moves, and debating motives. Questions proliferated. Did King fully understand his role? Would T.I. confront the investor, risking business fallout for family honor? Would 50 Cent publicly expose the dossier and dismantle reputations methodically? Who had the Black Rose footage, and when would it surface? Every unanswered question amplified tension. This saga revealed vulnerabilities across hip-hop, the way unresolved grudges manipulate youth, how fame and family can be exploited, and the consequences of mixing personal trauma with orchestrated revenge. King Harris, once a teenager chasing street credibility, had become a symbol of what happens when ambition meets manipulation. Smoke's disappearance and the affiliate's silence highlighted fear in the face of 50 Cent's precision. And the investor, once untouchable, now faced exposure that threatened not just reputation, but influence and wealth. The implications extended beyond social media drama. This wasn't just a family feud or a viral stunt. It was a masterclass in manipulation, a teenager weaponized by adults with long memories, precise motives, and the financial leverage to execute a psychological campaign against a legend. The personal stakes, the betrayal, and the escalation blurred lines between performance and real-world consequences. King's reckoning had only begun. Slowly, he started realizing the cost of ambition fueled by manipulation. The loyalty he had offered to Smoke and the affiliate had been a facade. They abandoned him when danger intensified. The digital folder revealed wire transfers, messages, and directives that traced a full chain of command, exposing how deep the betrayal ran. The Black Rose footage loomed like a loaded weapon, ready to drop and escalate the situation further. Fans, analysts, and bloggers treated comment sections and forums like war rooms, mapping conspiracies, predicting next moves, and debating motives. Questions proliferated. Did King fully understand his role? Would T.I. confront the investor, risking business fallout for family honor? Would 50 Cent publicly expose the dossier and dismantle reputations methodically? Who had the Black Rose footage, and when would it surface? Every unanswered question amplified tension. This saga revealed vulnerabilities across hip-hop, the way unresolved grudges manipulate youth, how fame and family can be exploited, and the consequences of mixing personal trauma with orchestrated revenge. King Harris, once a teenager chasing street credibility, had become a symbol of what happens when ambition meets manipulation. Smoke's disappearance and the affiliate's silence highlighted fear in the face of 50 Cent's precision. And the investor, once untouchable, now faced exposure that threatened not just reputation, but influence and wealth. Every piece of evidence had shifted the balance of power. 50 Cent didn't act recklessly. He had methodically gathered receipts, identified conspirators, and prepared for the fallout on his terms. The culture recognized it instantly. This was a measured response from a man who had survived bullets, betrayal, and industry politics. Social media posts, cryptic messages, and leaks were no longer playful games. They were signals in a high-stakes chess match. As anticipation for Part 2 of the footage grew, so did the awareness that the saga was far from over. What began as a teenager's reckless stunt had exposed an intricate conspiracy, powered by decades-old grudges and calculated revenge. The potential consequences were immense. Personal reputations shattered, careers endangered, and legacies threatened. The Harris household remained a war room, balancing family protection with damage control and moral guidance. King Harris now faced the ultimate test of awareness and accountability. Smoke was gone, the affiliate unsure, and the investor vulnerable. 50 Cent held the cards, the timeline, and the evidence. The leaked Black Rose footage threatened to drop at any moment. The culture held its breath, watching as power, revenge, and personal stakes collided. The saga had shifted from social media drama to a multi-layered exposé of manipulation, betrayal, and consequences that could redefine careers. In the end, the story wasn't just about a viral video or a teenager seeking clout. It was about long-standing grudges weaponized through innocence, the collision of fame and trauma, and the meticulous orchestration of psychological warfare. 50 Cent, the survivor, had turned the tables, and the industry understood the warning implicit in his silence and single-line threats. Smoke's disappearance, the affiliate's indecision, and the investor's retreat confirmed one truth. In hip-hop, crossing sacred boundaries comes with consequences, and when a master strategist decides to act, even the most powerful and untouchable can be shaken. King Harris had been the spark. The fire belonged to grown men with long memories. And the next moves, whether the release of Part 2, a confrontation, or the exposure of the third mastermind, promised to redefine not only reputations but the rules of engagement in an industry where loyalty, manipulation, and history are often intertwined. Hip-hop was watching, breathless, waiting, and for 50 Cent the game had only just begun.